In this video, we'll take a look at how Utah calculates child support. So if you live in Utah and you have a custody arrangement with your ex and you want to determine how much child support you owe or how much child support you are owed by your ex, then you can use this calculator to not only get an estimate, but also prepare some documents that you can present to the court if you're going to petition the court to modify child support. This page is hosted by the Utah government, and they have a review process here. The review process basically says that either ORS or the parent may request a review of existing support amount. And they have some rules here that they say that if you're asking for a change in the existing support amount, then they will consider it only if the new award is at least 10% higher or lower and the order is at least 3 years old, or if it is not yet 3 years old, if you have a current order, if the current order is not at least 3 years old, then you have to prove that a substantial change in circumstances has happened and that the new award that you're estimating is at least 15% higher or lower than the previous award. So, and you can read this a little bit more in detail. In this video, we're not looking at how you can determine if the new support order is going to be considered. In this video, we're going to be specifically looking at how much amount is expected to be paid or owed if you do decide to petition the court to modify the support order or issue a new support order. This is a page that I'm going to paste the link to in my description, and let's scroll down, and here is the actual link for the support calculator. Now look at this page. This page asks for some basic information about the parents' incomes, and based on the parents' incomes and some information about the child and some information about how long, how many overnights the child lives with each parent, it's going to determine the child support obligation. I have another video on my channel where the whole concept of why the incomes are required and how the incomes are used to determine the income ratio and determine child support, all of that is explained in a different video, and I'm going to put a link to that video right about here so that you can understand how child support works in general. That applies overall, and in this video we're going to take an example for Utah so that you can see exactly how those numbers play out. I highly suggest that you take a look at that other video I talked about so that you understand why we're doing this, why are we entering this information, and how the incomes matter, right? So let's start with entering the information here. What's the mother's name? Let's say the mother's name is mom. Let's say the father's name is dad. What's the mother's monthly gross income? Just for the sake of example, let's say the mother's gross monthly income is $4,000. And let's say the father's gross monthly income is $5,000. What exactly is a gross monthly income? They have these nice little question marks that you can click on. And for example, it shows income is defined as, from any source, salaries. And then for self-employed parents, you can click on this link and it tells you what is, and also it tells you what is excluded from gross income. These are the things excluded from gross income. All income must be verified using pay stubs, statements or records, last year's tax returns. So you will have to provide all of that information to the court to prove your statement of income. Let's continue on with the form. How many natural and adopted children are involved in this child support action? Let's say we're talking about only one kid right now. What are the amounts of previously ordered child support? Let's say, there is no other child support. This is important here. This is not asking about this current child we're talking about. This is asking about, are there other children, not this child, for which either parent is paying child support? So let's say there are no other children. Let's say only this child. What are the amounts of previously ordered alimony? Let's, for the sake of this very simple example, let's not go into the details of alimony. Let's keep alimony separate. Let's say there's no alimony in this case. For split custody, how many of the children from question 5 will be in the custody of each parent? Or for joint custody, how many overnights? Let's take the example of joint custody in this, because nowadays courts are more favoring joint custody, where it's either 50-50 custody with each parent or a significant amount with each parent. So let's look at joint custody. Let's say with the mother, the child lives for 200 days in a year, and with the father, the child lives for 165 days in a year. Which parent is a plaintiff for the support action? So if the father is the one that's petitioning the court to modify child support, then we select father, otherwise we select mother. Say in this case, the father is petitioning the court. So the plaintiff for the support action is the father. Does the mother and the mother's current spouse have any natural or adopted children? Let's say that is also 0. It's just to keep this form simple, right? You can obviously enter these numbers for your case, for your specific case, and it'll show you the numbers based on what you enter. But let's just keep this very simple. Let's say the mother and the mother's current spouse do not have any children. So with the father, maybe say the father also does not have it. Let's just take this and continue. When we continue, it opens a pop-up. Let's zoom it in a little bit so it's clearer. So what this has done is this has created a PDF that you can then submit with your petition, with your court pleadings, I'm sorry. You can fill in your case number here, and it has entered your dad v. mom. And if you look at this basically entered all the information we gave it, right? So mother has 4,000, father has 5,000, gross monthly income, and we entered 0 for the previously ordered child support and other things. We entered 0. Based on that, it computed the adjusted gross income AGI for the father and the mother, and the total combined AGI. This is what the court is going to use to determine what kind of standard of living the child deserves. So the child who is the child of parents who together earn $9,000, what kind of standard of living can the child expect or deserve? And based on that, they compute a basic obligation for the child. And as I said, I have this other video that explains why this is important. If you want to go watch that, you will understand why the total income is important. And then also where this number came from in Utah, based on the child's based on how many children there are, and based on the combined income of the parents, the state will determine that the child deserves $971 of raising expenses. Basically, that's what it says. It says basically this is how much the parents are expected to spend on the child in Utah if they have this much income total. Now, since the mother is $4,000 of these $9,000, her share pretty much is 44.4%, and the father's share is 55.6%. What that is used to do is you take this amount and split it between the father and the mother in the ratio of their incomes. So 971, when split between the mother and father in the ratio of 44 to 55, or 44.4 to 55.6, comes out to be the mother's obligation is 431 and father's obligation is almost 540. Now the next thing is they entered the 200 and 165 overnights that we had entered in the form, where the child lives with the mom. This is the column for the mom. The child lives with the mom for 200 days, and this column is for the dad. The child lives with the dad for 165 days, totaling, of course, 365. Now it says for the parent who has a child lesser number of overnights, you do some computation, and based on that computation, it comes out to be 0.054. then it multiplies. As you can see, it did all of it by itself by our just entering those numbers. Based on that, it computed some number and it subtracts this number from this other portion. And then based on the number of overnights and the other numbers, it computes these numbers. So what you can do is you can enter the numbers for your situation and see how these numbers come out to be. In the end, it will give you a number. In the end, this basically just rounding off this number. In the end, it'll come out with a basic obligation that this is basically the amount that the dad is supposed to pay to the mom as his share, right? So as you can see, the ratio that dad is responsible for is 539.87, but because the child lives with the dad for close to the same number of overnights that he lives with the mom, but that he or she lives with the mom, the father does not have to pay this entire amount. The father only has to pay this amount, $202. So this is something that the PDF is something that the calculator has generated, and based on that, it determines how much amount is estimated to be paid by the father in this case. This is, of course, this is only a calculation. This is not the final order. You will attach this to your petition or to the response to the petition to modify child support. The judge will take a look at what you have presented as evidence of income and evidence of how many overnights the child lives with each parent, which is mostly going to be a parenting plan. And based on that, and maybe based on other considerations, if there are other considerations that require special adjustments, the judge will then look at this number and make the special adjustments. But this is just an estimate for you, provided you have entered accurate information in the previous page. This is an estimate for you to know, how much child support to expect or how much child support to pay. So this is the number. I hope this was helpful. If this was helpful, I ask that you like this video so that other people can also be shown this video by the YouTube algorithm, and then it also encourages me to make more videos of this kind if it tells me that that you have liked this video and it was useful. This is obviously not a substitute for legal advice, because this is just an estimate right here. If you have any special considerations, it will be very helpful if you discuss them with an attorney, because they will then be able to tell you based on their experience if the court is likely to consider those exceptions as reasonable or not. So in this case, this is the number for you based on numbers we entered. I hope this was helpful. I wish you the best. Thank you.